Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Bob Nickman. I got a great guest today. Very old, dear friend of mine, Mr. Mark Schiff, who is by career, a stand-up comedian, and I've known him for a really long time. So we're not here to talk about comedy today, though. We are talking about some major lifestyle changes that he made about 30 years ago. He found himself in very poor health in terms of his cholesterol, high blood pressure. He was out of breath. He was eating terrible. He was smoking, and he was just felt horrible. And he started to explore other ways of eating, and has spent the last 20, 30 years improving the way that he eats and lives his life in terms of what he's putting into his body. And so we're going to talk about that, and what happened, and how he came to make these important changes, and that anyone can do this. It's really about taking charge of your life and being responsible for your own health. And he does a very nice job of talking about that. And he's not somebody that's trained, schooled. It's all self-taught. Books and listening to podcasts, health podcasts like this one. So he's learned to manage his life in a way that he leads a very, very healthy lifestyle. And he, as a byproduct of the lifestyle change, he dropped 50 pounds. He wasn't trying to do that just to lose the weight. It just happened as a result of these changes. And he's a funny guy on top of it. So we had a great little talk over at his house. So check it out. This is Mark Schiff. Oh, this coffee is delicious. Thank you for making that for me.
You're very welcome.
French press.
I press the French every day.
Yeah, it's delicious. And it's a nice, sort of a foggy, chilly morning for Los Angeles. So it's good to be inside having coffee with the healthy Mark Schiff.
Extremely healthy. In fact, the foggy, chilly, I was out this morning in the fog and the chill lifting weights.
Yeah,
it's true. I have in the back. I have that's where I have my weights outside in the backyard.
Oh, I thought you were kidding.
No, kid you not. And I got my weight bench, and I put my sweatshirt on. I put my earphones on, and I was out there in kind of a semi-haze darkness with tremendous fog all over, lifting weights.
After a hearty breakfast, or did you have that after?
No. Well, first thing in the morning, I take a tremendous, number 2.
Oh, man.
And then I urinate.
Okay.
And then I get out of bed. That's what I do.
I didn't know we were going there. Okay. That's a great joke.
It's a great joke.
How did I not see that coming from you?
I was shocked that you didn't see that coming.
I had no idea. Well, you had a serious expression. That's why I didn't fool.
Well, that's why I'm a good comedian, because the face fools them.
Yeah. It really does.
And then I get out of bed.
And then I get out of bed.
Yeah. So first thing when I wake up in the morning, I do my transcendental meditation, 20 minutes.
How much?
20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
Morning and afternoon. I sit up in bed. I wake up. I do TM. Then I BM. No, I do TM, and then I prepare a little breakfast for my wife, who's still asleep.
So you do a little service for someone else.
A little service work.
Mm-hmm.
I make her coffee, and I put a little fruit together for her, so I take care of that. So my wife can never say to me, "You never do anything for me."
That's all you do, though.
That's it. But at least I do, because a lot of wives say you never do anything. So I do something every morning for her.
I do one thing a day.
One thing a day for her.
And so they can't use the word never.
That's right.
Rarely, you could say.
Yeah.
You rarely do anything for me.
Yeah. You hardly ever. The only time you do anything for me is between 6:45 a.m. and 7 a.m. After that, you do nothing for me. So, but at least I do something.
Right. Congratulations.
And then I exercise. And then I come in and I make my breakfast.
Okay. So, and you eat healthy. That's why we're here today. We're talking about a lifestyle change that you made a number of years ago. How many years would you say now you've changed? I'm sure it's still an ongoing process.
It's constantly ongoing. Is getting rid of, things that you still hold on to. Well, this goes back a long way. When I was 16 years old, I bought a juicer to make carrot juice. I just had this affinity towards, healthy stuff, even though I led a very unhealthy life.
And where did that come from? You read something?
Yeah,
you saw something?
I have no idea because no one in my family did anything healthy. My mother and my father smoked. They ate horrible foods. Everybody dropped dead of heart attacks and cancer in my family, left and right all around me. I just must have read something or seen something about carrots. They were good for the eyes. We all knew that. And then I heard, whatever. So I bought this machine for $100 at 16 years old. That's a big investment for a 16-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure is.
And I started grinding carrots. I buy 25-pound bags of carrots. And then I started taking vitamins. And then from there, 30 years ago, I became a vegetarian. And that still didn't work for me completely.
Mm-hmm.
I became a fat vegetarian.
Okay. So you were how old when you became a vegetarian?
Well,
like 30?
Yeah, 31.
Mm-hmm.
So became a vegetarian, but you can eat pizza and drink Coke. That's vegetarian.
Yes, that's true.
Right? And you can eat potato chips and French fries. It's all vegetarian.
I suppose you could drink wine, too.
You can drink all the wine you want, all the beer you want, and you can eat all the ice cream you want. So I gained 50 pounds. I was 50 pounds heavier.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was a fat vegetarian, and my blood pressure was high, my cholesterol was high, and I was out of breath. No good.
Were you smoking?
I was smoking back then.
Okay.
Smoking a couple packs of cigarettes a day. Got rid of those, then switched to cigars. I smoked 2-3 cigars a day. I used to lock myself in my office, and it was secondhand smoke to the highest level you can imagine.
It's like a hot box.
There was no higher level of secondhand smoke than if you worked in a cigar factory.
Mm-hmm.
All my windows were sealed in my office. I could hear people coughing in offices 3 rooms away.
From you?
Yeah, from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had everything sealed, and I would just smoke giant Cuban cigars and inhale secondhand smoke 7 hours a day.
Man.
And being a stand-up comedian, you will remember when we first started, you could smoke in the clubs.
Yes.
So we would go into a nightclub, and there'd be 100 people smoking. And which way did they blow it? Right in our face.
Right at the stage.
Right at the stage. You're standing there talking, they go right at you.
Yeah, and I'm not a smoker, and I never have been. And I remember leaving those club dates and going back to the hotel or wherever I was staying and just taking off all of my clothes and getting in the shower and putting them in a laundry bag because the smell on the clothes and my skin was so disgusting to me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I used to do is I had an anger streak in me, and I would go into hotel rooms just to annoy people, and I would smoke a cigar in the hotel room, which was legal at the time. But I would fill up my mouth with cigar smoke and blow it into the pillows. I would just go, just like 10 giant puffs into a pillow. So no human being after me, they had to throw this pillow in the garbage. And I would do this in hotel after hotel after hotel.
What a sweet guy. Yeah.
That was after
just to do, and you didn't get the pleasure of seeing somebody go, oh.
No, but I knew that was going
knew.
to happen.
Yeah.
You don't have to see or you know, you don't have to be there.
So you got a lot of pleasure out of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And That and hitting the maid carts, for all the shampoos. That was my afternoon daily activity while I was waiting to go on stage. But I also used to cook in the hotel rooms. I would bring a hot plate and silverware, and I wouldn't bring my own plates because you can get them from the hotel. And I would cook healthy foods. I would make soups and salads. At the time, one time I thought liver was good for you because of the iron, and I would cook liver in the hotel rooms, completely stink up. I would cook liver and smoke cigars in the hotel room. And nobody could really go into that hotel for like months after I was finished with it. The smell was so unbelievably horrible.
I guess, meeting women on the road wasn't a priority.
I'd have to rent another room.
Right, a second room for the groupies, huh? Hey, what smells in here? It's me.
Yeah.
It's my habits.
After sex, would you care for a piece of liver?
You were a catch. What a catch you were.
I know. So I always had this idea that there was something to eating right. And it was little by little by little of reading and learning and getting rid of stuff that wasn't good for me one by one. It wasn't an overnight thing. It wasn't like one day I just became a vegan. I woke up out of bed and go, I'm a vegan. No, it was very slow. 20 years so movement in that direction.
Okay. And you've lost since then. That wasn't about weight loss. It was about lifestyle change.
Yeah,
obviously.
weight loss.
It was just a nice byproduct.
I did what every other person on the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet, which also is SAD, SAD, Standard American Diet, SAD diet, that killing people left and right. I was sick from it. My blood pressure, my cholesterol. I would go into doctor's offices and my blood pressure was so high, they would actually shut the lights in the room and say, just lay down here for a while. I'll be back in 15 minutes. Just calm down. And I would scare doctors with these high numbers.
Wow. That's smoking, obviously. That was a big part of it.
Smoking, whatever. Yeah. I'd stopped alcohol and drugs completely by then. Got rid of all that stuff. But the smoking and the cigars and salt and late night, lack of sleep, worry, all that stuff.
Sugar?
No,
I was just calling you sugar.
Oh, thank you, honey. I'm not as adverse to. I don't really use sugar now, but I'm not totally against it.
Mm-hmm.
If people want to use a little bit of it to brighten their day, there's no harm to it. A little bit, but no, that wasn't really an issue of mine. I was not a giant sweets guy.
Oh, okay.
I was not.
But salt, you said a lot of.
Yeah, I didn't add to it, but I liked the salty stuff, the pizzas and salty popcorn and pretzels and all that stuff. So, what's there not to like? It tastes great. The taste buds love salt and oil and sugar and stuff like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the taste is great.
Yeah, everything bad for you is generally tastes better than anything else.
What I found is, for me, is that, yes, but then when you stop doing it and you're eating healthier, then that stuff, and you try it again, it feels harsh. It feels like it's too much.
100%.
Because the taste buds have been acclimated to healthier.
That's right.
Vegetables and things like that.
That happened to me not too long ago. I had a sip or two of some soda. I don't know why I had it. I can't remember. It was just awful to me. Just beyond sweet and ridiculous.
Yeah, painful.
Yeah, but I used to love that stuff. The diet sodas, I switched to that, got rid of that stuff. So it's all that stuff is gone.
And your numbers on your cholesterol?
Well, I'm still on a small amount of drug, even with this vegan diet and with exercise and with meditation. I've got everything down to normal and better than normal. But without the drug, my blood pressure still tends to creep up a little. I may just be that type of person, like a type A,
or just predisposed to high blood pressure.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much better it is now than it used to be. I mean, it's 1,000 times better. It was so awful before, and now it's all within normal ranges. My cholesterol is below 150.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, which is almost, there's no such thing as complete heart attack proof, but below 150, you're in a range that you probably won't have a heart attack.
Yeah, that's really terrific.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
The average American is over 200.
Wow.
And they market a curve now, doctors, because everybody comes in at 200. They go, well, yeah, but it's not good.
So what does your diet consist of? So now you're a vegan, and there's certain things that
Right,
I know quite a bit about it, but I don't know if the
we don't really
listening-
call it vegan anymore.
Okay.
We call it plant-based, whole food.
Plant-based, yes.
Vegan has a political connotation to it that people don't like. As soon as you say vegan, they go, well, are you doing it for political and ethical reasons, or are you doing it for health reasons? So in my particular case, I did not do it for ethical reasons. I did it for health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
People want to eat meat. I mean, I'm all for, humane slaughtering, but if they want to eat it, it's not good for them. It's not good for the world, but I'm not one. I don't try to stop people from doing anything.
Yeah, right.
So plant-based, what is my diet?
Yeah, let's maybe just give me a typical 1 or 2 days of what you
Okay, well,
what you might eat.
Today I had, one important factor in this is you have to become responsible for your own health. I cannot depend on my wife or my kids or a restaurant or somebody to cook for me and take care of what I need. So I do all my own cooking at home. I do everything, and I do my own storing and freezing and whatever it is. So this morning I make a juice every morning. So it's either a green juice in a blender, or I use the juicer where you put the carrots in. You can't do that in a blender. I think it's called a triturator.
Okay.
I think it spins around in a circle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this morning I had a 12, 14, 16 ounce glass of celery juice. I drink straight celery juice in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about 2 heads of celery. Yeah, a head and a half. Like all those stalks that come in one bunch. It's about a bunch and a half of celery every morning. Just the juice.
Nothing else in it?
Nothing, no lemon, no nothing. I haven't liked the flavor of it. I like the taste of it. And then I had steel cut oatmeal. Now, I try to eat as little processed food as possible. Now, Quaker oatmeal, 1 minute oatmeal, is still good for you, but it's processed. It goes through a process to make it one minute oatmeal. Oatmeal is not, steel cut oats take 30 minutes to make. It's your best type of oats. It's unprocessed. It's just straight from, it's just there. It's pure oats. So Quaker, what they do is they cut it down, they cut this off it, and they cut this off it, and they slice this, and then all of a sudden you have the 1 minute. So I try to eat it as close to the natural form as possible. So I eat steel cut oats. I put on flax seeds, hemp seeds, and chia seeds. I put on berries, nutmeg, and cinnamon, and almond milk. That's it. And a glass of green tea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's breakfast.
That's hearty.
Yeah. And
those particular seeds are for various things?
Yes. Well, omegas, the flax seeds are the omega-3s, which there's certain things that plant-based people do not get in their diet. One in particular is B12. The vegan plant-based diet is absent of B12. The meat eater gets that. The egg eater gets it. So I have to take a I take a B12 under the tongue.
Okay, sublingual.
Sublingual under the tongue, like 3 days a week. It's
It drops?
Nope, just a pill you put under the tongue. It disappears.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest thing in the world. 3 days a week, and you got your B12. You don't have to worry about anything. That's no difference between me and a meat eater now. I'm short on the omega-3s because I don't use certain things that have those. So I do flax seeds, a spoon or two a day of that.
Mm-hmm.
I get all I need out of there. And the other seeds are just, fiber is the number one important ingredient in a diet. People think it's protein. People get way too much protein in the United. People eat like 12-year-olds are eating like 350-pound linebackers. They're eating, 200 grams, 150 grams of protein a day. They don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So fiber is what you need because you need the food to just keep moving out of you. And fiber acts as like a brush, like an internal Brillo. It scrubs your insides and moves everything along. So I take fiber every day. 3 spoons of fiber a day.
In what form is that?
I buy it at Costco. It's called Easy Fiber or a Benefiber. And it's some sort of wheat dextrum.
Mm-hmm.
It's just mix it with water and you drink it. So I do that. And then for lunch, I always have a salad. I eat beans every day. Every society, long-living society that's ever existed have one thing in common. Beans. They all ate beans.
Did not know that.
Yeah. There's a book, what was the Blue Planet? The Blue, it's Blue something. He went and investigated the 7 longest living societies in the world. And what they had in common was beans. From Mexico to Italy to right here in Loma Linda, California, which is like an hour and a half from here, the 7-day Adventists people. They eat, they're basically vegetarians.
That's a long-living culture?
They have more 100-year-olds than almost anybody in the country.
Oh, okay.
And they live an hour and a half from there. They're a religious group. They're not strictly veg. And by the way, most of these groups are not strict vegetarian groups. They all eat a little bit of fish, a little bit of meat sometimes, but they mostly eat vegetables and fiber products.
Now, you don't eat any fish either.
No fish, no chicken, no turkey, no beef, no dairy. And no eggs.
Yeah, not even egg whites.
No.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in something like, for instance, let's say I come to your house for dinner and your wife baked a loaf of bread
Mm-hmm.
and she mixed some eggs in there, I will eat it. Because I don't impose my problem, what I do, on other people.
Yeah.
I'll just let you know in advance that I'm a vegan, and you'll say, what can I make you? And I go, just vegetables and some rice is fine. And if you have something with an egg in it, I'll eat it.
Okay.
Because it's not an ethical thing with me.
Right. It's just, a high percentage of what you do is
Yeah.
what you believe
Yeah.
it
And
works best for you.
And I don't want to be like one of these smokers that see other people, ex-smokers, that just annoy the hell out of human beings.
Yeah, I get that.
And I don't want to do that with food.
How much experimenting do you do with, or did you do with new foods that you would try and kind of use your... what I do is I kind of use my body as like a test tube in a sense. I'll try something and I'll kind of pay attention to how it makes me feel or how I respond to it. Did you have a lot of that going on over the time?
Yeah, and that's why I slowly got rid of things that weren't working for me.
Yeah.
Like for instance, pasta. I don't eat pasta anymore.
Yeah, I don't either.
I just didn't feel good when I ate it.
I'd go right to sleep.
Yeah, I get a little, and for me, it didn't work. And there are certain foods also that through experimentation, I stopped eating because when I eat them, and I think most people have this with certain foods, I can't stop eating it. Like pasta is one of those foods. I want a second bowl and a third bowl. Popcorn's another one of those things. Once I start on it, it's hard to tear me off it.
It's an interesting thing because a lot of the stuff that isn't good for us or doesn't really satisfy the nutritional needs, we keep wanting to eat more of it and more of it and more of it, and it never, and you can't stop.
Can't stop.
I have a few things like that. And
Everybody
I try not
does.
to start them. It's
Yeah.
really but sometimes, you do and you go like, well, popcorn is a good example.
Yeah. And I have a list of things that I don't have pretty much no matter what. Now, I also have 3 other people that I check in with every day on the phone. And it's my exercise food club.
Oh, I didn't. That's great.
Every day.
So like a little support for each other.
Totally. So when I get done with my exercise in the morning, there's very few rules in the club, but one is you call every day when you've finished exercising, and you call if you're not going to exercise and let us know. You got to be honest with, I'm not going to do it today. Because, what happens is if we see you haven't done it in 2-3 days, we know you're falling off maybe, and we try to get you back on track. This has been going on for about 10 years, this club.
It's you and 2 other people.
Yeah, 3 other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I report food in. Like, for instance, I have this list that keeps growing. So I called my friend Bernie this morning in New York. And by the way, he is maintaining a 175-pound weight loss for over 10 years. And he's running the marathon this Sunday. He was 375 pounds at one time. So he's like 175 now.
Wow.
And he's running the marathon in his 60s. And he's plant-based. So I called him up this morning. I said, I'm done exercising. Hey, Bern, how are you? It takes a minute, this call. I'm done exercising. He goes, congratulations. And then I go, no pizza, pasta, bread, frozen yogurt, chips, dips, desserts, fried, licorice, overeating, sugar or sugar substitutes for me today. That's my list.
Mm-hmm.
And I give him that list. And then when something else creeps up that I don't want, I add it to the list. And he has his list. No soy sauce, no bread, whatever it is. And this is a serious guy because he's Italian, grew up on pasta and pizza and meatballs and macaroni. And he doesn't eat any of that stuff anymore.
That's great. I didn't know you did that. That's
every
fantastic.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Middleman is the other guy in the group.
Oh, okay. Well, I know Steve. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting thing.
We also share our blood tests with each other. Like when I go to, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no,
when
go
I
ahead.
get my new blood test from the doctor, I send it out to the guys so they can see the results for themselves.
Oh, for your numbers, like
my
cholesterol,
numbers,
et cetera.
So they see what's going on. So there are no secrets. And once a week on Mondays, we weigh in and send the weight to each other.
Okay, so these are all guys that were overweight, obviously.
Yeah, Steve was overweight, and
Mhm.
he dropped. Now he's 30 or 40 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, he
down.
looks good. I saw him
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
And then Bernie's 175, and this other guy's 30 pounds. And I'm starting with a new guy to try to help him. I know, 150 pounds overweight now.
Well, it's a nice project, 150-pound project. It's an interesting thing about, 2 things. One is, I wanted to ask you this. Some people have, over the years, I don't care now at all, but they'll make fun of you for, eating healthy, or you're a health nut.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. It's like, it's health sane, in my opinion. But how do you, I'm sure there's people listening to this that are saying, well, what do I do? One, when people say things to me that are, passive aggressive or outright rude,
Right.
or I go to a restaurant, how do I overcome these moments, as life sort of presents itself food wise, and not do the things I know are not in my best interest? How have you dealt with
Right.
that?
I get that from people.
I know you. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've gotten it myself.
Yeah. Like when I go to someone's house, they'll say things like, I just want to go in the backyard and get some grass for you. They'll say things like that.
Yeah.
Just, like a duck in water. I just let it all roll off now. And it doesn't bother me. And I know I'm doing the right thing for myself. And I know I will probably be visiting these people in the hospital very soon.
Yeah, well, that's
if they're lucky.
If they're lucky that you come.
If they're lucky, they live, to make it to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting. I think a lot of people say stuff because they actually feel like bad about the way they're doing things, and they want to pull you down into where they're at. I think that might be part of it.
Well, I just wrote an article. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see?
I read your article.
Okay.
It was tremendous.
So in it, there's a line in there where I say that I give my phone number out to people who want help, and 99% of the people who I give my phone number to never call me. They tell me, I want your help. I give them my phone number, never call. That's the deal. I get people all the time in my neighborhood who go to housing, out with them. They say, I got to talk to you, man. Really, can we set up? I go, absolutely. Anytime you want, I'll meet you. I'll talk to you. That's the last time I see those people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a good way to get rid of people. Just tell them you want to help them. you never see them again.
I wonder what that is about. Right? Let me help you.
And they're gone. They're like one of those cartoons. They're just like, you just see smoke in the air from them running so fast.
I wonder if it's just sort of a level of desperation that some people just never get to where they want to make a change.
They don't think they can do it.
They don't think they, yeah.
I see it. I feel it. I know people that are so heavy and they just go, I can never do what you do.
What an interesting thing to tell yourself. Sometimes you hear it in a specific, like I would say, well, I don't eat red meat. I could never do that.
Right.
How do you know? How do you know you could never do it? And I'm not saying you have to do it, but that's one of the things I don't do. I don't eat ice cream. Oh, I could never do that. I love my ice cream, is what I'll say. Well, all right. Well, do you want to change or do you not want to change? There's certain things that you just,
right.
You can't do them if you want to feel good.
How well do you want to get?
Yeah.
And you're right. People have the my. That's a perfect observation on your part. These are my cigars. That's all I have in life, and my cigars. Don't take those away from me. They plead their case.
Right, and and I understand that because you think you're getting far more pleasure out of it than you really are. Well, you get pleasure on the A side.
Yeah.
Of it. And then on the B side, you pay this price. So, people forget that, like, okay, I'm going to light up this cigar. The first few puffs are going to be great. There's some camaraderie. I like the ritual. I like having the special lighter, cutting the tip off of the cigar, sitting around with my friends. That stuff's great.
Yeah.
But then, now I've got a bad taste in my mouth. My lungs feel weird. I'm risking mouth cancer, and I smell bad. There's so many.
Everybody hates me wherever I go, so I smell like a.
Well, yeah. Except other cigar smokers.
Yeah. I got all these people that because I'm very community oriented, and people know me, and they stop me all the time, and they just don't want to make the. I was working with a guy recently. He lost 30 pounds. And then packed it all up. He couldn't take it anymore. What happens is when people start losing weight, I've noticed this. Excuse me. People start losing weight. They get to a certain point. Are we good?
Oh, yeah, we're great. I'm just looking at the
When
time.
people start losing weight, they get to a certain point and they start looking good and feeling good, and they get scared and they retreat.
What do you think they're scared of?
They're scared of being noticed, and they're scared of. I see it with guys who start looking good, and women start paying attention to them. All of a sudden, they lose like 40, 50 pounds, and all of a sudden women start looking at them and talking to them and showing interest in them. They run the other way. They're scared of being found out about something.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. But I've seen it happen time in and time again.
So the emotional component to why we eat is something that...
In order to keep the weight off, you have to have your emotional house in some sort of order. Because if not, you're going to revert back.
Did you discover anything particular about yourself once you started to get healthier and lose weight? Did anything come up for you like that maybe triggers you wanting to eat, or things that kind of surprised you about yourself as you became healthier?
Well, it's the same thing whether you're getting healthier or not. Rejection makes me hungry.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm rejected a project or something, or believe it or not, if I go do a show and I don't do stuff that I set out to do, like some new stuff or something, I feel bad about myself when I get off, and I may start munching on stuff I shouldn't eat. No. My thing was it was an early childhood thing. I also eat very fast, incredibly fast.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I can. My wife can put down a bowl of food and then go into the kitchen to get hers, and I'll be finished before she gets back in to sit down.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to really be careful. And I keep my face looking at the food, and I don't look up and look at other human beings in the room.
Well, because they might take it.
No. When I was a kid growing up, I just had to eat fast and get away from everybody.
Oh, okay. So
I
you
was
just wanted to get out of the dinner situation in your family.
So I continued on, and I got to break that habit. It's like when I used to walk ahead of my parents when I went out with them in the street.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes with my own family, I'll walk like 5 steps ahead, and they go, "Where are you going?" I mean, it's just these habits are very hard to break.
Sure.
They're very hard to break.
Yeah.
But I became aware of them at least.
So the eating stuff, seems to be tied to some sort of pain with people. I know you were telling me about the guy that did that show, Biggest Loser. Wasn't that you that was telling me about him? What he was saying, that all those people that were so overweight all had some kind of, underneath it all, some serious
darkness.
Emotional pain.
Yes. They were talking. He said, and I've heard this before, people that are really, really overweight have a very dark side to them. There's a real darkness there that they don't necessarily show, but it's deep. It's deep. To let yourself go 100, 150, 200 pounds overweight is pretty intense.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing because there's this sort of myth of the jolly fat person.
Yeah.
I never believed it myself because I know when I have gotten heavier, and I've never been, really fat, but I've been chunky and overweight, that I don't feel good. It's simple as that to me. So I can only imagine if you're 100 plus pounds overweight, why would you be jolly?
Absolutely.
Unless you're pretending, you're hiding something that's...
And if these people fall over and fall down, they have trouble getting up. Sometimes they have to lay in the house until somebody comes home and helps them up. If you're 200 pounds overweight and you've hurt your rib or laying there, you ain't getting up maybe.
Yeah.
It's rough. They break in chairs, sitting in people's homes.
Yeah. And
I have a friend that told me, he says, it's embarrassing. I'll break people's chairs.
That has to be really embarrassing.
When you're sitting on a plane and you see a giant fat guy come up the aisle and there's an empty seat next to you.
Yeah.
And you just start, even if you're not a praying man, that's when you start praying.
Right. You hope,
please
not
God,
here.
Not next to me.
And that person knows that everyone is looking at them.
Everybody's
like that.
looking, and I have nothing against the person, but when they sit next to you, you got a couple of rolls on your side of the thing.
Yeah. Well, so it's really what I'm hearing is taking responsibility for your own health. No one's going to do it for you.
Totally.
Being willing to look at the real facts of what works and what doesn't. Blood tests for numbers.
Know your numbers. That's really important. Yes, most people, they do not know their numbers.
Yeah.
Know your numbers. Know where you want to be, and use that as a goal to get to.
Right.
And know how to get there.
And so there's some studying, not much.
Well, there's a couple of books that changed my life.
Yes. Let's lay these out for people because that's a great idea because I wanted to hear
the two books that changed my life. Well, there were a couple. Dr. Dean Ornish, How to Reverse Heart Disease. He wrote it 30 years. He wrote the book 30 years ago. It still stands today.
Right. He had that. Was he Pritikin?
No.
He had a cardiac rehab thing that he did with people.
Yes, he still has it, and actually insurance pays for it now.
That's great.
Yeah. It took him like 20-something years to get the insurance companies to give him whatever $10,000 instead of spending $150,000 on open heart surgery. So Dr. Dean Ornish is one.
Mm-hmm.
Any of his books are great. The China study. Number one, the longest study in history, like a 20, 30-year study on food and disease. It's a thick book, but it's only the first 200 pages that give you the answer to everything you need.
Was the study done in China?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Shanghai Shek got cancer, and what happened was because it's communism, he can dictate anything he wants, and he started the biggest study. Millions and millions of people were forced to eat certain foods to see what happened in relation to health, and this is what happened. Was the China study came out of this. And they found out relationship to cancer and heart disease through nutrition. It's all documented right in front of your face.
Well, there's a little upside to that political
to
bent.
to communism and murderous regimes. Yeah, who killed hundreds of millions of people, by the way. These people.
No, it's, I mean, not
biggest
really.
mass murderers on the planet, but they eat well.
I'm laughing because it's just your delivery is great,
Yeah.
but they eat well.
Yeah. So and then the cutting edge guy now is Dr. Greger, and he wrote a book called, I think it's How to Not Die. Dr. Michael Greger, I think it is. He has a nutrition.org. He's the cutting edge of nutrition. He has a staff of tons of people combing the all the pages every day of all the articles that are being put out, scientific articles. He backs up every single thing he says. You cannot disagree with him because he backs up everything. He doesn't just, like me, talk. I have nothing to back, he backs up everything. Dr. Michael Greger, the China Study, and Dean Ornish.
Where's that doctor located?
Dr. Michael Greger?
Yeah.
I think he's here in California.
Okay.
I think he's here in California. And they're all certified doctors. I mean, they're not like,
Yeah, they're real MDs.
Yeah.
AMA MDs.
I think...
Not that that's, I mean...
No, but...
It does lend a certain
yeah.
credibility,
Those three
I suppose.
books changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll change anyone's life that's willing to really, really look at it.
I'm sitting here feeling bad that I haven't had any beans.
I'm going to give you a can to take home with you.
I don't want canned beans. I want some fresh beans.
French beans. Fresh beans.
Yeah. What
You know,
about
by the
bean
way-
sprouts? Are those considered beans?
I don't know if bean sprouts, and I don't do sprouts, but I know they're good for you.
You don't, because you don't like them. Or
No, I don't dislike them. I just don't do them.
Okay.
It's. I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was there, but it was.
I said I don't. I feel bad I haven't done beans, and then we started going down some. Bean.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the other great thing about this is my food bill is 40% lower than most Americans' food bills. This is a huge thing. When I go out to eat with my family, they'll have a steak or chicken or whatever, and it's, $30 for their plate.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's $6, $7, $8. I'll get an order of broccoli. I'll get a thing of rice. Maybe whatever. It's cheap.
Yeah.
And I eat at home a lot of food, and if you notice when I see you sometimes in the afternoons, I bring my own food with me.
Yes, I've seen that.
I'll bring a thing with me, and I'll make a thing here. And I also don't use oil, hardly at all. I make my own salad dressings, vinegar, mustard, a little bit of water,
Mm-hmm.
lemon juice, some Italian herbs and seasonings. So I'm responsible for everything that goes in.
Also, I guess we could talk about the environmental impact of meat.
Yeah.
And how much land it takes just for, a pound of beef, plus the fertilizers and what that does to the water supply and the air, and
Right.
how much cow manure is made every day. It's an enormous,
Right.
I guess, for lack of a better word, waste of land.
It's an unsustainable way for the world to exist. Eventually, they're just not going to be able to do it. Yeah, it takes like 100 pounds of feed, corn and stuff, to feed the animal for 1 pound of this.
Right,
You
you've
know.
already grown all this vegetable.
Yeah,
and
and then you're feeding it to this thing. And also the, what do they call it? The the gas house
Greenhouse gas.
cow flatulation.
Yeah.
Did you know about that?
Tell me.
Well, that causes like supposedly the number one, cause of greenhouse gases.
Really?
Yeah,
Number one.
look it up. Yeah, look it up. Cow flatulence. It's an incredible thing. There are 300 million people in America. There's like 1 billion or more chickens.
Mm-hmm.
You never see them,
Right. They're on
but they have to.
big
What I mean?
warehouses.
Yeah, you got to keep them somewhere because every day 300 million people have to eat and probably go through 100 million chickens a day
Yeah. Wow.
in this country. There was a kid who gave up actually. Sometimes you see little kids that become vegetarians like at the age of 6 or 7. I know a couple of families whose children just decided one day to become a vegetarian. And one kid was having dinner with his father. His father's a doctor, and his father took him to a medical dinner. They were having this fundraiser. And the kid was 6 or 7. And every plate at the dinner, there were like 200 doctors, and every plate had a Cornish hen on it, a little tiny Cornish hen. And the kid said to his father, "So they killed 200 of these birds for this dinner?" And the father said, "Yeah, look, on every plate there's another bird." And the kid stopped eating meat that day.
Wow.
Just had one of those.
Yeah. He just saw it as the volume of
He
slaughter.
he just put it together. He said, "Wow, look at this. This is like mass murder happened in this dinner."
Yeah. I guess you don't. Most people don't think about that. They don't think about.
No.
Or actually, and I've seen cows butchered. I've seen it. It's pretty stark, when you actually see it. I wonder how many people, if they had to kill their own meat, would actually be able to do it.
Right.
Because that's an interesting thing, because you're really paying somebody else to do your killing.
People used to do it all the time. They used to
Sure.
buy live. I used to live down in, I'll tell you a story. When I was eating meat, I lived in an Italian neighborhood in Greenwich Village. And there was a live poultry house near me where you go in and pick out a chicken. So I walked in there, and the guy said, "Can I help you?" So I said, "Yeah, I want to get a chicken." He said, "Come with me." And he took me in the back, and he had like hundreds of chickens in coops. He says, "Which one you want?" So I go, "I'll take that one." So he grabs him by the neck. I'm watching the whole thing. He hits him in the head with his hand to get him like dazed, takes out a knife, slits his throat, throws him on a little conveyor belt, goes through this boiling water that defeathers him, comes out the other side. Meanwhile, the whole time now, I'm getting nauseous, and I'm feeling bad for this chicken. I feel like the executioner. He comes out the other side with no feathers, just skin. The guy throws him in a bag, hands him to me. I pay him, and I walk home with this chicken, and I start talking to the chicken, apologizing to him.
Oh.
I said, "I'm so sorry that I did this to you. I feel bad." And I just talked to him all the way home. I got home. I cooked them, and I couldn't eat them. Just threw them away. I mean, I saw it, and I lived it, and I just was horrified by it.
Yeah,
it was a terrible experience.
Yeah.
One I'll never forget. What's her name that wrote on Death and Dying? Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. You remember her?
Yeah, I read that book. Yeah,
okay,
sure.
We all kind of read that book. You should look up her story or Google it or some on YouTube. She lived on a pig farm. She was a Jewish girl, but she lived on a pig farm, and the Nazis had come, and slowly but surely they had to get.
What country was this?
Germany,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah,
that would make sense.
Yeah, or Austria, somewhere in that area. So anyway, she had one pig that was actually her pet pig. All the other pigs, she was fine with being slaughtered because that's what they did. The father did that for a living, and they ate them. But they got down to this one pig. That's all they had left because she couldn't get him anymore. Her friend, her pet. And the father said, "Elizabeth, we have to eat him." And this was her, And he said, you've got to take her to the slaughterhouse and have her slaughtered. And she carried the pig in her arms, like just very much like I did, but this pig was alive, apologizing, talking to the pig the whole way. And it was one of the most traumatic experiences of her entire life. And she did have the pig slaughtered. And it completely altered her as a human being. She killed her friend.
Yeah.
Because pigs are actually pretty good pets.
And intelligent and
and friendly.
And I think that the pig probably knew what was going to happen at some point, as they approached the place.
Yeah, they can sense the death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would freak a kid out.
It's a great story she tells. Yep. I'm just packed with humorous antics.
No, I love that story.
It's a good story.
Yeah, wow.
And you can hear her tell it on the internet. She'll tell the story.
Well,
It's so worth listening to.
I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a very, very intelligent person. I remember reading that book many years ago, and it was a real eye-opener.
I think at the end she was scared to death about dying. Even though she wrote the book on how to die, I think she pretty much flipped.
It's a pretty scary thing, I guess, depending on how you look at it.
Right. Yeah.
As, it lasts a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Not as long as some half-hour TV shows.
No.
That I've seen.
No, that's like walking around.
You know that joke about this Jewish guy. He goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, Mice, I got to tell you, your test results. You got 6 months to live. He says, really? So Mice does. He goes back. He meets this Jewish woman, and he marries her and moves to Iowa. And his family says, why'd you do that? He goes, it's going to be the longest 6 months of my life.
Right. I like that joke.
Yeah, it's a great joke.
Yeah. The people from Iowa are probably upset.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place. I've been to Iowa, but I can understand that.
I just use Iowa because it's open
right.
and,
Right, flat.
Yeah,
and,
flat.
And
yeah,
kind of nothing going on is the
people
image
watch
of
corn grow.
Yeah.
So, and one of the great things now is that eating healthy is a very easy thing to do. It's everywhere now. Every town I go to, because I travel all over the world, every town I go to, I can find a good vegetarian, vegan restaurant with healthy food. Every supermarket now carries pretty much packaged, decent foods if you can find the section that it's in.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of soy products if you're interested in them. So it's not like it used to be. When I first traveling on the road, I would go to a restaurant and they wouldn't have anything healthy. I couldn't even get a vegetable.
I remember that. I remember going to some place in Texas, and I thought, I'm going to get some green beans. So I ordered the green beans, and it comes in this bowl swimming in butter,
right,
with hot dogs cut up in it.
Right, bacon. And,
yeah. I was like, what is this? Flavor? It's flavor. Do you have any just regular green beans you could steam and bring to me?
Right.
She looked at me like she didn't never heard of that.
Right.
That's not how you make green beans.
That's right. There was I did a show at for soldiers where I was on a fort. I can't remember what
military base?
Yeah, military base. And they asked the comedians, they said, we're going to order some pizza. Does anybody want anything? So I said, this was years ago, I said, let me get a cheeseless pizza. Just, vegetables. And the guy who was ordering not only had never heard of that. Okay, I can understand that. He never heard that you can actually order a pizza without meat on it. He never knew you can actually order just a plain cheese pizza.
Yeah.
If he only his whole life had pizza with sausage and meatballs
pepperoni.
and pepperoni, he never saw even just a cheese pizza.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Not even aware that there's choices.
No. And that's what we have now. We have so many choices.
That's a good way to end, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have choices. We have health options. and taking responsibility for our own health.
And
the
keep
way
moving. You know, Dick Van Dyke, the great Dick Van Dyke, he's 93 or 94 years old now. He just wrote a book last year and a half ago, called Keep Moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the book. And you don't have to be 94 to read it. Anybody can read. You can be 25 and read it. It's a great book. And his whole thing is get out of the chair. Just move. Walk here, walk there, bend here, drop your keys, bend down and get them. You know, that's it. Keep moving, and you have choices.
Very good. All right. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you, Bob. Good to see you.
All right. Mark Schiff, everybody.
God bless.
Fantastic. You too. Well, thanks for listening to the podcast. That was Mark Schiff. Really appreciate anybody tuning into this thing. It's really fun to do. And I hope you come back. Thank you so much.